Okay, good afternoon, everyone. The lawn ceremony will begin in 5 minutes. 5-minute warning.
So I did watch the last one, 2019, this morning. I just a little feel and make sure I knew what we were doing. I might come to just rush. What are all those? I know that's not anything.
Looks like my number of
Oh, I got that. Yes, because he asked me for confirmation.
actually not so bad.
No. I was
My expectations.
I'm assuming later here, but I told him I said I'm going to be on the stage.
Party in my numbers. We're ready.
2 minutes. Might want to find your way to a seat. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Congratulations on your senior shindig.
That's the honor.
If you could just remind kids to stop. I'm going to do whatever I'm moved to do. I'm not. Thank you.
Because I did watch it so much, so I'm assuming.
Do I now?
Looking good. I know, which is, well, my first two are on so that will be interesting too. And where's the camera?
Way in the back.
Okay.
Oh, I see from there. Camera A, camera B.
I think I'll look at the one straight up.
Same trains that they notice here. I'm actually corny and grimy. Not like
Okay, ready? Everybody good to go? Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to today's lawn ceremony. If you are wondering, and for the record, a hurricane could head our way and this tent would hold. So rain, Gusty winds, frigid temperatures, nothing can dampen the joy and enthusiasm I am feeling about being here with all of you who are on campus this afternoon and to be on screen for those of you who are watching on TV at home. While we certainly wish we were all able to be here in person together, this is a huge step in the right direction. We are looking forward to being with parents, guardians, family members, and friends of the class of 2021 1 week from today on this very location, when we will celebrate the school's 90th Prize Day and confer 94 diplomas to this terrific graduating class on what will be a picture-perfect weather day. As we move into this, yes. As we move into this lawn ceremony on our magnificent campus, intent on enjoying this day together, I want to continue to make a recent practice a habit for our school on special occasions of this sort. Namely, that we take note of the fact that here at Brooks School, we live and learn on land once of the Pennacook people, and we acknowledge their enduring presence. As you know, we were not able to hold our lawn ceremony 1 year ago at this time, and this means that all students who were new last year or are new this year have never experienced this event. The same is true for faculty and staff members who arrived following the 2018-2019 school year. With that in mind, I would like to take a couple of minutes to outline what we'll be doing over the next 2 hours or so. Well, not the only event on our spring calendar that aims to celebrate the deep and broad ways students have impacted their school over the course of this year and their Brooks careers. This event aims to honor and appreciate the gifts, talents, and passions that are in our midst and enrich the experience we have together. Over the course of the afternoon, we will present a wide range of prizes that have been earned by Brooks students for generations, and hear from 3 students about their experiences in the arts, athletics, and academic program, respectively. While I doubt I will ever have a year that leaves me feeling anything other than a deep pride in our school, given all so many do every day to help us pursue our mission, this has been a singular year in every respect, not likely to ever be repeated again. If I have a fear about finishing this year and moving on to a new one with far fewer restrictions to contend with, it is that we will not adequately convey our gratitude to one another for what all of us have given to get to this day. A can-do spirit and inclination to see this year's situation as at least half full has been pervasive and moving. We have faced obstacles we never would have imagined being a part of our lives just 15 months ago. And the commitment, hard work, extraordinary leadership, and superb citizenship so many students have shared with the school every day has been both inspiring and heartwarming. To celebrate and share our good feeling with one another and all of you watching at home is our hope. After colleagues and students lead us through our celebration of the arts, athletics, and academic program, I will enjoy the privilege of presenting some school prizes at the end of the lawn ceremony. I will finish with some thoughts about this year's school leaders and the many who will play important leadership roles in 2021-2022. With a sense of what is to come now in hand, and before we get started, I want to introduce Roberta Crump-Burbank. Ms. Crump-Burbank is in her 36th year on the school's faculty and is our longest tenured faculty member. Although you would never know that based on the pace she keeps. She will make sure we stay on track with all of these prizes as we award them this afternoon and then again next week during Prize Day, and I thank her in advance for making it all work flawlessly. I want to again remind all of us that this event is being streamed to many who are watching from somewhere off campus and recorded for those who cannot watch at this time. Thus, it is especially important that those of us here on campus turn off and/or silence all cell phones and other such devices that might get picked up by a microphone and interfere with this afternoon's ceremony. In addition, please take a moment to identify the nearest way out from the tent in the highly unlikely event of an emergency. We're going to be fine, everyone, but just in case. Thank you for that. To begin, I'm pleased to introduce Babette Wielden, head of the Arts Department. Ms. Wielden.
Good afternoon. I am honored to be here today to celebrate many creative and collaborative experiences encapsulated in awards and recognition in the arts. Lawn ceremony, although my first at Brooks, I know is a meaningful milestone for many, especially our class of 2021. As chair of the arts, I have come to embrace one certainty over the past 15 months, and that is that art is a powerful way to share a story, gain confidence, express a perspective, empathize with others, and in challenging times bring joy and togetherness. Be it on stage, in a film, with music, movement, or a mural, the arts open us up and bring us together. For that, I am grateful for the work of the following students who engage in the arts at Brooks. The George A. Tyrone Prize, awarded by Mrs. Randolph Muto in memory of her father to a middle school student who shows unusual promise in the visual arts. This year's recipient is Lindsay Fong. Lindsay, I hope you're watching from home. Congratulations. The Henry M. Buell Photography Prize, awarded to an upper school student who is dedicated to the practice of photography and skilled not only in technique but in creative artistry. This year's recipient is Tri Nyap Nguyen. Tri is also hopefully watching from home. Congratulations. The Russell Morris Prize, awarded to an upper school student who has made distinguished contributions to the visual arts at Brooks. This year's recipient is Gabriella Grace Garoso. The Parkman Prize in Drama, given in memory of Terry Parkman to a student who has worked long and hard backstage with no thought of any reward. This year's recipient, Abby Grace Duckworth. The Knowlton Drama Prize, given in memory of Warren Knowlton of the class of 1967 and awarded to a member of the Brooks community, has shown those qualities of loyalty and devotion to drama and versatility and enthusiasm in work before and behind the scenes that were typified by Warren Knowlton. This year there are two recipients, Omalade Feishayo Mabude. And the Knowlton Drama Prize also goes to Elizabeth O'Neill Packard. The Music Prize, awarded in recognition of dedicated long-term study of an instrument or voice that has resulted in the highest level of musical performance in the graduating class. This also goes to two recipients. For vocal, it is Caroline Alexandra Samalak. And the Music Prize for Instrumental goes to Shea Seon. Also joining us from home, but virtually. Congratulations. And the Robert Lehman Art Prize. The prize is for the most accomplished artist in the annual student exhibition, and this year's recipient is Lydia Davis Barker. I'm now going to introduce today's art speaker. This student was born and bred in Boston, precocious, playing music together at age 2, dancing to tiny tunes at 5, playing the piano by the age of 7, the flute at 12, starring in productions at Pike in middle school, and an impressive 4 years here at Brooks, engaging in 6-year-long courses in the arts, more than doubling the minimum required for academic artistry. Add to all of that the countless productions, including all 3 this past year, all virtual in delivery. Caroline Samalak is the epitome of artistic integrity. The past few weeks, Caroline wowed us as the lead vocalist at Brookstock, chanteur en français, with her independent concert in French music. And of course, as many watched last night, she brought us together as Gabriella in our own production of High School Musical on stage. I know I am not alone when I say that we are moved by her passionate artistic magnificence. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Arts Prefect and artist extraordinaire, Caroline Samalak, to speak on the arts.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Wielden. I love singing more than almost any other activity. It's like breathing to me. That's a phrase I've said at least 100 times, and it's true. When I was younger and I dreamed of having a superpower, the superpower I dreamed up always had to do with my voice. I could enchant the most dangerous enemy. I could calm the most vicious monster with only a sweet melody from my vocal cords, no accompaniment required. If Orpheus could do it, then so could I. That's how powerful I feel. That's how magical I feel. That's how good I feel when I sing. Now that I'm older, I recognize that I really was enchanting enemies and calming monsters, but they weren't physical. They were the ones in my head. They were all my doubts, fears, and anxieties. Singing is my protection and my coping mechanism. I remember before a rock band concert, I'm not sure which one it was because honestly, all of them start this way. I was so nervous. My hands were shaking, my breathing unsteady. I thought I was going to throw up. and I was obsessively pacing. My bandmates must have been terrified of me based on the state I was in. I would have been too. We heard the other rock band's second to last song begin and filed into the wings to wait and cheer them on. Upon realizing it meant we were almost up, I passed out. I'm kidding, I didn't actually pass out. But I felt like I could have. My anxiety and stage fright reached its fever pitch as we walked on stage. I could just barely make out the crowd as the lights hit me when I suddenly realized I was okay. I remembered that the stage is my home, and I've done this a million times before. It's like jumping into water, expecting it to be so cold you get hypothermia, and then taking the plunge only to realize the water is lukewarm. I'm still in the water, under the spotlight, but I've remembered I can swim, and I like the water after all. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. The guitar or drums or piano hit me, and I was in it. All I could think about was my voice, how the music feels coming out, and how I'm selling it to the audience. If you've ever seen me perform in rock band, you know I basically don't stop moving. A show is a show, and I try my hardest to make it exciting. I'm dancing, I'm swinging my mic around, and it's like I was never scared at all. Stage fright? Who is she? But trust me, we are well acquainted. But my love of singing, my love for the feeling is stronger than any fear. Every year in rock band, there are always 1 or 2 specific songs that I look forward to singing more than the others because they just feel so damn good. Uma Thurman, Lake Effect Kid, Highway Tune, Still Into You, Cocaine Jesus, just to name a few. It's a perfect combination of my emotional connection to the song and its alignment with my vocal range and technical ability. There is a word in Greek that I learned in my sophomore year winter term, aristia. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's used to describe the moment when a well-trained warrior reaches his peak in battle. He is virtually untouchable, or something like that. That's what it feels like to sing those songs. I own the music, I own the stage, I own the crowd. I'm untouchable. I can do anything. I go through a similar process before every musical and play. My anxiety creeps up onto me until I think I'm going to pass out, and then I step onto stage and I'm not Caroline anymore. I'm probably someone very different, and there's no room for fear left. Putting on a musical or play is more emotionally complicated than performing in a rock band concert because, 1, I am not the only one speaking or singing, and 2, I'm not myself. I can lose myself in my character. I can force old emotions, or ones I've never had before, to the surface and pour them onto the stage. I try to wrap the audience up in a story without ever acknowledging their presence. The fourth wall is a miraculous and mysterious thing. My notoriously overactive imagination is allowed to run wild and free. It needs to. I remember sitting alone in the wings of the dark theater, waiting for my next scene to be up and just breathing in the magic of it, the magic of theater. There's no other way to describe it. It's comforting and terrifying at the same time. I love it. But let me clarify something. When I say singing is like breathing to me, I mean it's as necessary as breathing, not as easy. Singing is a full-body activity and one that requires great skill to do well and to do safely. Singing incorrectly, especially for long periods of time, does serious damage to your vocal cords. Training my body down to the minute facial muscles took a lot of time. When I came to Brooks, I thought I knew what I was doing. I had been taking voice lessons for years and performed in numerous musicals. I figured I could walk in here with no additional help and knock everyone's socks off. Wow, was I wrong. It was low-key embarrassing. To be fair, part of the reason why my performances were unimpressive was because I was a scared little freshman, and most of the time, I didn't have the confidence to give it my all. But my main issue was there was so much I didn't understand about my voice and technique in general. I won't go into all the nitty-gritty details of it, but to summarize what was wrong, I was trying to sing too hard, and when I was trying, it was very inefficient. I think I can pretty safely say that through Mr. Griffith's guidance, years of training, and lots of vocal rest during the pandemic, I have worked out all the major kinks. However, this is not the end of the road, and I have no intention to stop singing or working on my technique anytime, ever. Now, I know this speech is supposed to be all about me. And it is. I just talked a lot about myself. But I'm standing up here as the arts speaker. I'm supposed to represent the arts at Brooks, and I often feel the arts are clumped together into one big group. But each discipline is so different, and they all deserve individual recognition. Unfortunately, I am not so talented as to be gifted in every one of the arts disciplines that Brooks offers, so I conducted 4 interviews with artists who participate in disciplines aside from music and theater. Let's start with dance. Dance is something you have to be physically and mentally flexible in order to do. It requires a dancer to stretch their body, often leaving it sore, but in a rewarding way, in a way that leaves the dancer feeling that the rigor was worth it. And it requires mental flexibility. I learned from my interviewee about the intensity of a competitive dance schedule and how between living at Brooks, wanting to continue competitive dance, and the pandemic, lots of mental flexibility was required to make it work. But dance is just as necessary to this dancer as singing is to me, and I can deeply appreciate that. An artist makes their work because they love their art, their community, and they need the emotional support, which comes from the community and the art itself. In discussing this aspect of dance, we were able to draw some fascinating parallels between dance and theater. Both performance arts require a group of individuals to trust each other and work towards a specific common goal, such as a performance or a recital. You have to work on yourself in order to make the whole better. You're not working against your fellow artists, you're working with them. Interestingly enough, a very similar observation came up while I was interviewing visual artists. One of the biggest common threads between those that I interviewed, specifically painters and drawers, was the importance of community. The support and inspiration that came from other artists around them pushed them to make more art and pour more of themselves into it. Typically, when I think of painting and drawing, I see it as a solitary activity during which you keep to yourself. I didn't see how artists could be both solitary and a group. Turns out I was looking at things all wrong. The art is what brings the artists at Brook together, rather than putting them in separate spheres. It's something they can relate to each other through and spend time doing together, alone, but together. It's how friendships are built and beautiful works are created. I learned a lot from conducting these interviews, and the message that resonated most with me was that your art discipline has to click. For example, photography is capturing a moment in time. The ability to control that moment is what makes photography such a complex skill. The photography student I interviewed said that this is what made photography click for them. Other visual art forms had not resonated with this student until they stumbled upon photography by chance. Another interviewee had a similar experience. They had begun in the performing arts, and then, by circumstance, ended up discovering their love of painting and are now in AP studio art. Others of my interviewees had their area of focus click at a young age and have continued to foster their work. Finding the art that clicks, that resonates with your soul, is something that can happen at any point in your life. But when it does happen, it feels like coming home. The arts at Brooks give kids so many opportunities to find art that they never would have found otherwise. It oftentimes gives them an opportunity that they would not have had before, or find an art that they would never have considered. For the artistic and creative-minded, this is vital, as art is an extension of our soul. And every artist I have ever talked to spoke of how their art is a form of catharsis. It is a safe place for their feelings to go and to be transformed into something new and wonderful. It's a place of our own creation to come home to. Having these discussions with other artists about how they are impacted by their work made me rethink about how singing has touched me in similar ways. I pour all of my pain and happiness and past experiences into the songs I write, the pieces I sing, and the roles I play. That's what art is for. That's why we do it. That's why we love it. And that's why art of all kinds is so infinitely important. It's a superpower in its own right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Caroline. And now I'm pleased to again introduce Roberta Crump-Burbank, this time as our Director of Athletics. Ms. Crump-Burbank.
I'm not one to relish moments in front of large groups of people, but I will say it certainly feels good to be back up here in front of all of you after taking a year off last year. So thank you all for being here. So I would first like to take a moment to acknowledge and recognize all of our athletes at all levels, first, second, and third team, who lost seasons due to COVID-19. We know how central those experiences are to your high school experience, and are sorry that you missed out on so many games, team dinners, tournaments, and possible championships. Nothing can replace these experiences or memories, but I hope that what we have had together here over this past 15 months has provided you with lessons that you can carry forward into the years ahead. I would also like to publicly thank all the faculty and coaches who stepped up during this difficult time to create and provide a meaningful afternoon program. Your flexibility, ingenuity, and positive approach to this puzzle created a program we can all be proud of. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for that. I'm going to start where I always start at this point in speaking of how we continue to be proud of our multiple sport athletes and our multiple letter winners. Some of our best athletes in this age of specialization are athletes that contribute significantly in more than one sport. To earn 8 or more varsity letters in a career exemplifies an extraordinary commitment and effort to athletics. I would ask these 6 formers to stand as we recognize their outstanding career and contributions to athletics at Brooks. Please hold your applause until the end. Earning 8 career varsity letters, Brendan Diorio, Caroline Fritz, Tucker Hill, Emma Houlihan, Jack McKinnon, Emma Riley, and Sam Telsey. Earning 9 career varsity letters, Nate Worth. Earning 11 career varsity letters, Sydney Correa. And in recognition of the outstanding achievement of earning 12 varsity career letters, a varsity letter each season for 4 years, we would like to present a plaque to the Brooks School athlete, the one and only one this year, who's in graduating class who has accomplished this feat, Catherine Evelyn Marshall. Every year at this time, each of the 16 schools that are members of the Independent School League recognize a female and a male athlete from their student body with the ISL Award of Excellence. Created in 2015 to recognize athletic participation and further the principles of the ISL, the citation reads, "The ISL Award of Excellence recognizes a female and male in each ISL school for exhibiting the Independent School League's ideals of integrity, sportsmanship, fair play, and good citizenship while participating as a multiple sport athlete during his or her independent school career." A 10-letter winner in football, wrestling, and baseball, this year's male recipient of the ISL Award of Excellence is Jack Sullivan Breen. A 12-letter winner in soccer, basketball, and lacrosse. This year's female recipient of the ISL Award of Excellence at Brooks School is Catherine Evelyn Marchessault. The Senior Athletic Prize is an annual award presented to the male and female sixth former who, in the opinion of the coaches, have distinguished themselves in sportsmanship, athletic ability, and whose achievements have demonstrated an outstanding record in the athletic life at Brooks. A recipient of 9 varsity letters in 4 interscholastic sports, this year's male recipient of the Senior Athletic Prize is Jake Duncan McKinnon. A recipient of 11 varsity letters in 4 sports again, this year's female recipient of the Senior Athletic Prize is Sydney Grace Correa. The Carrie Ann Cater Prize is awarded annually by the faculty to that female member of the graduating class who, by her warmth and generosity of spirit towards others and her outstanding contributions to Brooks athletics, by her presence alone, has added that precious quality of kindness for which we remember Carrie Ann Cater. Fiercely determined in the mouth of the goal, any goal, the student athlete has been remembered for her warmth, kind spirit, and quiet, gentle presence that she exhibited with both teammates and opponents. This year, the Carrie Ann Cater Prize is awarded to Emma Grace Houlihan. The Frank D. Ashburn Athletic Award is given by the Cogswell family to honor outstanding individual or team performance in which intangible extra qualities have added a special flavor to the school. An integral member of the boys basketball team, one of the school's most memorable moments was when he invited a team from the Ryan Martin Foundation to Brooks wheelchair basketball team for Saturday night's activity, and members of the community were encouraged to participate. In addition, his hard work and dedication has earned him a Division I basketball scholarship to the University of Illinois. As voted by the full faculty, the recipient of the Frank D. Ashburn Prize is Martrell Stevens. I would now like to introduce the senior athletic speaker, Emma Grace Houlihan.
Hi, everyone. Okay. With pinkies linked, we strutted out of the athletic center. Cool October air mixed with game day nerves sent shivers down my back. Power by Kanye West blasted through the speaker as I swerved each crack in the sidewalk, a superstitious habit. As we took to the field, the air was still and intensity lingered. There wasn't a single side conversation, and the sound of every field hockey stick slapping against the orange ball was crisp and clear. A breeze from Lake Kachikowick sent leaves dancing across the net. Dressed head to toe in puffy padding, I was a walking marshmallow, ready to flop, flail, and dive at any shot that came my way. Everyone's role on the team was set, and the defense was unstoppable. The game began and muscle memory kicked in. There was no time for thinking. I was so deep in focus, I completely blocked out any details of that Tabor game. But as I lined up to take a stroke in double overtime, I was shocked back into reality. I walked to the back of the net and slammed my stick against each post, then nervously shuffled my legs back and forth. The crowd was roaring and all eyes were on me. This was it. My heart pounded in my chest as the cheers grew louder and louder. Goalie ready, stroker ready, the whistle blew. She slapped the stick against the ball and I dropped into a full split. The ball nearly skimmed my toe as it slapped against the backboard. I turned to my side and saw a bright orange ball sitting in the back of the net. My heart dropped. I cringed as the ref screeched an all too familiar whistle. Tears began to build in my eyes and disappointment churned in my belly. I rolled onto my stomach and just kind of lied there for a moment, letting the loss sink in. As I took to my feet, I was met with the warmest hug from Lucy Adams. We stood there squeezing each other We stood there squeezing each other tight. Warm tears streamed down my face. As the season shifted and a layer of snow dusted over the Brooks campus, I traded field hockey cleats for ice skates. I took to the ice dressed in bright blue socks, neon pink tape, and a bow on the back of my helmet from freshman year's Christmas practice. Some Hannah Montana song blasted throughout the rink as we shimmied our arms and swerved our heads to the beat of the music. If you haven't been lucky enough to witness the JV girls hockey team wreak havoc on the ice, it's like watching a herd of baby deer try to stand for the first time. But don't be fooled, we go hard. Standing in the offensive zone, I waited for my teammates to cross center ice. I picked up my head to hear the entire team screaming my name. Putting 2 and 2 together, I realized I was the only player not on sides. My instincts kicked in and I locked eyes with the blue line. Everything around me blurred as I had tunnel vision for a fresh patch of ice. I had no other option. Pulling a Bobby Orr, I full-on dove across the blue line. Stick overhead, hands outstretched, my body parallel to the ice. Time stopped. My body hit the ice with a thud as I slid into the boards. I lifted my head and cheered as they successfully carried the puck into the zone. Season shifted again, and sticky spring heat encompassed the turf field. Walking back from the pregame huddle, I snapped off my helmet straps, pulled my helmet off, and placed my mouth guard next to my bag as the rest of the team took the field to start the game. I bit the inside of my cheek, fighting back tears. Disappointment weighed heavy on my shoulders. At that moment, I had 2 choices: sulk for the rest of the game and throw a pity party for myself, or do everything in my power to support my teammates from the sidelines. With every draw won and ground ball pickup, my voice became louder and louder as I screamed cheers for my teammates. I leapt from the ground and stretched my arms into the air in a full starfish jump as Molly Driscoll ripped a behind-the-back shot, a smile beaming across my face from ear to ear. By the end of the game, my voice was raspy and sore. My apologies to any damage I caused to Church and Duffy's ears. This fall, Mr. Nagel handed me wrist guards, elbow pads, knee pads, a helmet, and a fresh skateboard without a single scratch. I watched as he effortlessly glided along the skate park in the September heat. I was captivated. Each time I attempted to do the same, my skateboard would come flying out from under me. I collected bruises that scattered my hips, elbows, and knees. Staring down the quarter pipe, 1 foot over the edge, resting on my skateboard in my scuffed-up sneakers, I took in a shaky breath. I replayed Mr. Nagel's words over in my head. "You got this, Emma. Don't lean back, just fully commit. Nothing is stopping you." I was 1 hesitation from wiping out and 1 commitment away from landing this. Owning my fear, I shifted all my weight onto my front foot and leaned over the edge. My wheels slapped against the wood and a force ran up my left foot. The tail of my board released from its perch as I came shooting on down the ramp and onto the pavement. A wave of euphoric triumph passed throughout my body as I was met with cheers. I laughed in disbelief. Brooks has taught me to lean into everything I do fully, that it's okay to let in goals and fall and fail and cry, then get up and keep trying until you fall again, then finally succeed. So, if Mr. Nagel offers you elbow pads on the first day of skateboarding, take them. You'll thank me later. And if you find yourself offsides during a very intense JV hockey game, take one for the team and dive over the blue line. And if Church and Duffy bench you, use it as an excuse to lose your voice cheering on your team. And if you ever find yourself in tears after a game, know that your heart was fully in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. And now I'm pleased to introduce Susanna Waters, Dean of Academic Affairs. Mrs. Waters.
Good afternoon. I am delighted to celebrate the many accomplishments of our esteemed Brooks School scholars with you today. I thought that for my introductory remarks, I might try something new this year, a poem, perhaps not worthy of submission in Mr. Hale's poetry seminar course. Here it is, nonetheless. It is entitled, "We Made It." Last year in March, we ventured online. Google Meets at all hours, you handled it fine. From Hanoi to Nairobi, you crushed asynchronous work and enjoyed your first EOLs as an extra perk. We missed you on campus so much, in fact, we committed to cramming borders into every crack. This fall, you moved into the Packards in the mansion, and for our virtual students, the new Zoom license was a decent expansion. Your teachers used owls, Candows, and webcams galore. We tried Flipgrid, GoFormative, Jamboard, and more. Staying healthy in the classroom was our first priority. We listened to Fauci, the leading authority. Spray bottles, HEPA filters, plexiglass, and distance between kept most of us out of a 2-week quarantine. Concurrent classes, skills groups, and checking on-brooks for mode tested our tech savvy, but reduced our workload. From swabs up the nose to grab-and-go food, online trivia and bingo kept us in a good mood. While the bubble worked well and got the job done, our school was not whole without everyone. We brought back our day students and put them in pods and erected a tent on each one of the quads. We explored new passions from the tanks to the courts and learned that dog walking is considered a sport. In recent days, we have been able to take off our masks, and seeing new faces for names have to ask. But it feels really great to have hope and connect, to celebrate concerts, speeches, and capstone projects. Meaningful education is the Brooks School's mission, and despite COVID, we honored this tradition. Your teachers are rock stars, and you kids are the best. Together, we more than aced this life test. What a year it has been, one for the books. We have made it through, and I am so proud of you, Brooks. We will now recognize members of our student body for their exceptional efforts and contributions to the academic life of the school. First up, the Publications Prize, awarded to a student whose diligence, devotion, and skill have contributed significantly to the successful production of a Brooks publication. This year, there are 2 recipients, the first of whom is Abigail Sarah Charlam. The second recipient of the Publications Prize is Ryan Sloan Winchester. The Edmund Samuel Carr Prize in Latin goes to Tanay Venkut Kamareddy. The Edmund Samuel Carr Prize in Greek goes to Abigail Sarah Charlam. The Edmund Samuel Carr Prize in Beginning Latin goes to Hillary Elizabeth Young. the Spanish Prize. This year shared by two recipients, the first of whom is Nina Catherine Beisch Rosbach. The second recipient of the Spanish Prize is Anya Harsh Sancharawala. The René Champagnon French Prize, shared by two recipients, the first of whom is Emma Rose Fleischman. The second recipient of the René Champagnon French Prize is Catherine Lindley Ingram. The Charles C. Cottingham Class of 2008 Chinese Prize goes to Sydney Grace Correa. The A.G. Davis Phillip Prize, given by the Science Department to an individual who has demonstrated an interest in and who shows considerable promise in science. This year there are two recipients, the first of whom is Yufan Chen. The second recipient of the Cottingham A.G. Davis Phillip Prize is Melanie Ann Kaplan. The Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute Medal for Excellence in Mathematics and Science goes to Yuto Sujiyama Lam. The John J. Cabral Prize, given to the Brooks student who has shown a high degree of interest in physics and for the depth of involvement in the subject. This award goes to Min Ho Yoon. The John B. Melvin Computer Science Prize goes to Qishong Yang. Shout out to Mario, who is joining us virtually from Shanghai. The Nicholas J. Evangelist Science Prize goes to Emma Rose Fleischman. The Mathematics Prize goes to Min Ho Yoon. The Howell Van Gerbeck Jr. Prize, given for the best essay on the development of political institutions for his essay titled Goodbye to Imperialism and Hello to Socialism, The Effects of Socialism on West Africa's Development. Tanay Venkat Kamareddy. The Richard K. Irons Prize for the best essay on a pressing problem in American history or international relations for her essay titled Black Women and Black Power, Intersectionality in Practice, Elizabeth O'Neill Packard. The Michael W. McCahill Prize in History, awarded to a sixth form student who has demonstrated a love for the discipline by taking a wide and rigorous program in history, a mastery of analytical thinking and writing, an enthusiasm for the craft of historical research, a delight in the exploration and exchange of ideas, and an empathy for the human condition. This year's recipient is Caroline Holdridge Fritz. The E. Graham Ward Prize in English, awarded to a student who has demonstrated a love of literature in all of its forms. This student is a talented reader and writer, gifted with the ability to respond to literature both analytically and creatively. This year's recipient is Caroline Alexandra Samoluk. The Harvard Club of the Merrimack Valley Prize, awarded by the Harvard Club of the Merrimack Valley to a fifth former nominated by the faculty for high academic achievement, leadership, and active participation in school affairs. This year's recipient is Amy Mojica. The Columbia University Club of New England Prize, awarded to a fifth former who has demonstrated an ability to combine academic achievement, personal character, extracurricular contribution to the school, and accomplishment in and dedication to a field of interest meriting personal recognition. This year's recipient is Shu Dong. The Oscar M. Root Prize, given by Morgan H. Harris, Jr., is awarded to a member of the Brooks community who, during the year, has exemplified certain characteristics with which Oscar M. Root for many years enriched life at Brooks. These characteristics include excellence in the sciences, devotion to nature study, and a sense of humor, which provides a rare overview of life. This year's recipient is Emma Grace Houlihan. The Jolene and Stephen C. Eyre Prize for Scholarly Achievement. This prize is awarded each year to the ranking scholar in the sixth form. This year the prize goes to Anya Harsh Santorwala. To the class of 2021, your achievements have been many at Brooks. The academic and college counseling offices would also like to congratulate you for the external scholarships and merit awards you have earned toward your higher education. You are deserving of all the recognition afforded to you. Well done. Now, please join me in welcoming all-around stellar sixth form student Brian Anderson Delgado to the podium to share his thoughts on learning at Brooks.
Does this sound good? I can never tell how high to put it, so. Okay. I am witness to many ends here at Brooks. I have been in class with Mr. Hale, Mrs. Moody, Mr. Hesse, and Dusty, all as their lives were shifting in new directions. In a sense, I have seen some of these teachers' final hurrahs here at Brooks, and through their speeches and stories, I have witnessed their bestowment of wisdom to us, the students who carry the will of the future. While thinking about these teachers, I began wondering about what we leave behind as human beings, as students, as mentors, and as every other possible identifier. What do we carry with us and what do we leave behind? My sophomore year, on a preseason trip for crew down to Clemson, South Carolina, I may have crashed my boat into a tree in the middle of a lake. I must admit, I was rather absent-minded that day, but I was exhausted from the other practices. I was only a few days into being a coxswain, and it was a really rainy day. It's hard to spot a tree when my glasses look like a Snapchat filter. However, my apathy was so exaggerated in such a situation that the rigger, the metal piece of the boat that crashed into the tree, was removed and screwed onto a trunk. Tote would later make it into a trophy for whoever can mess up the most each year. Yes, this is it, I remember thinking. This is my legacy. This is what I leave behind. a trophy dedicated to my essence. Now, my name brings some sense of solace to those who make huge, irreparable mistakes, as people both laugh and lament whatever happens that year, like when Mr. Toad Smith dropped a boat off a bridge into a river on his way down to Clemson last year. Congrats on the Brian Delgado Prize. Legacies, however, do not involve just what you leave behind, but what you push forward. My parents taught me that very well. They immigrated from Peru long before I was born, but always lived with that American dream. To create, as is often stated, a better future. When you're young, those words often mean striving for something better for yourself, finding a work, a nice home, security, something different from what you left behind. As one grows older, though, as I have been told, people begin to think in different ways. If a problem or goal outlives me or overpowers me, then I should just pass it on to the next generation. The future, in the most literal sense, which you created sitting right in front of you. So, as is the case with many people, I grew up with a great pressure to strive for something. This something, however, is rather loosely defined. My parents never told me to become a doctor or an engineer or an economist. They just told me to make it. The meaning of which floated around intangibly impossible to grasp and even harder to define. That two-word phrase would ultimately keep me up at night as I wondered what it meant to reach that goal. To be clear, I don't have a bad relationship with my parents. I love them very much, and I see the pressures they imposed on me as a result of their lifelong struggles, ones which I could not fathom and for which I have to appreciate them because otherwise I wouldn't be here standing talking to all of you. Anyway, most of my life has been living with that sort of thought bubbling in my head. What do I do now to get somewhere better? Why should I? And perhaps the most puzzling to me, how do I do that? Coming to Brooks was one of my ways of making it at the time. It was my dream to escape where I came from, a feeling which was often shared by my other classmates. To escape the place, the memory, the lifestyle that I perceived to be around me filled my thoughts. Of course, I had friends and connections, but my sense of desire outbid my pre-established roots. When my dreams won, I began applying to boarding schools and ended up here. When I arrived at Brooks, however, I remember feeling somewhat lost as to what to do next. Once again, I had arrived in an impasse. I told myself I was preparing to be the best. Of course, it was obviously the only way of making it. Again, I had to create a meaning for myself as to what that meant. It doesn't take much to realize that I am not your prime athlete. My only taste of varsity was in crew my sophomore year as a coxswain, but I know how that turned out, so my sense of achievement came from my classes. I tried taking as many high-level courses as possible and piling my load to bear as much as necessary to prepare for the future. Other than that, I didn't really do much else. My freshman and sophomore years were spent somewhat in reclusion, but I did do one thing that would change my course of thought and possibly my life. I applied to a small program called School Year Abroad. I would spend my junior year in Spain creating a new life and experiencing a taste of the people and culture the world had to offer. I saw a world ages older than anything I'd seen before. Sorry, I just lost my spot on the page. A stark difference from the cities and towns I had seen in America, and which showed ancient feats and works which had taken ages to complete. My experiences applying to SYA and in Spain would give me a powerful realization that as much as I spent time thinking about my purpose in life or how to make it, not taking action to reach the goals you have will only leave you stifled, always dreaming but never seeming to gain any traction. If you don't know what the world holds in store, then you should go and see it for yourself. That is my takeaway from these experiences in my life. So I was pleasantly surprised to be offered the opportunity to give this speech as the academic speaker. I still remember my freshman year when I had given an hour-and-a-half long tour of the school to a family so that I could skip 2 classes that day. So, as the academic speaker, I should probably leave you with a couple more academic lessons. Don't overwork yourself. You are not a robot. That also means planning out your classes or managing your time better. But don't be afraid to push your own limits. Listen to teachers because they are often looking for the best in you. Don't be afraid to ask a question. And lastly, don't cheat or plagiarize. You wouldn't want your life here to end shortly because you copied a Sparks Notes summary. Please let that one marinate. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And now for some school prizes. The Malcolm G. Chase III Prize, awarded to a 3rd, 4th, and 5th former who, in the judgment of the head of school, has made the most personal progress during the year. The Malcolm G. Chase III Prize in the 3rd form goes to Luano Niondo. The Malcolm G. Chase III Prize in the 4th form goes to Connor James O'Neill. The Malcolm G. Chase III Prize in the 5th form goes to Saunders Elizabeth Haley. The St. Lawrence University Book Award, awarded to a 5th former who has displayed a significant commitment to community service. This year's recipient is Eleanor Olame Kariza. The Leonard S. Perkins Prize, awarded by the faculty to that member of the 5th form who makes an outstanding contribution to the life of the school. This year's recipient is Hongru Chen. The Harvey P. Hood Prize. The Harvey P. Hood Prize, awarded in recognition of special interests, such as working with young children, making things with one's hands, and in memory of a lively, gentle view of life. While this citation captures much of what this young woman has been on our campus, she also brings an impressive tenacity and principled approach to everything she does. One colleague described her classroom presence in this way: she was the lodestar in her approach to her work and her passion to do her work well. The humanities are her passion, and voracious reading and prolific writing have earned her scores of first-class effort marks. She has been a tremendous arts prefect, has dazzled us on stage with her incredible voice and acting, and has been described as the unofficial mentor to younger students in the arts. Her advisor described her as a class leader who includes rather than dominates her peers. I know that everyone who has worked with her in any capacity would concur. I'm honored to present this year's Harvey P. Hood Prize to Caroline Alexandra Semra. The Alan Ashburn Prize. The Alan Ashburn Prize, given by the late James D. Regan and awarded each year by the faculty for any purpose it deems suitable. When I think of this young man, I'm drawn to a title of a piece I wrote for the Bulletin in the fall, Character and Resolve. He personifies these words and has inspired all who have enjoyed the privilege of knowing and working with him. A colleague pointed out that he approaches everything he does with a refreshing optimism. Along the way, he has been one of our finest athletes, an indispensable friend, and an excellent student. Yet it is his understated and unassuming nature that has impressed me most. By simply being his best self all the time, he has earned universal admiration in our community. There is much to learn from his example, his accomplishments, and yes, his character and resolve. I trust he knows how much we are going to miss him. It is my honor to present this year's Alan Ashburn Prize to Martrell Stevens. The William R. Ferris Jr. Prize. The William R. Ferris Jr. Prize, given by Howell Van Gerbig in honor of William Ferris, class of 1960, is awarded to a sixth form student who stands out among their peers for the depth and range of their intellectual curiosity, energy, and creativity. A nominee for this prize is presented to the faculty by the 6 faculty members who hold endowed chairs. While I have never enjoyed the privilege of teaching or coaching this young woman, I can't help but think it must be an absolute joy. Indeed, some of her teachers have referred to her as a super positive presence, a star, and one of the brightest individuals on our campus. She has an incredible work ethic and lifts the spirits of every group she is a part of. And she is a part of a lot of groups. How many of us are both vital guitar players in the rock band and irreplaceable coxswains in the crew program? One colleague noted, in an era where many seek to specialize, this is an individual who partakes in so much. She has given generously to her school throughout these years, and we are so much better for it. I am so pleased to present this year's William R. Ferris Jr. Prize to Catherine Lindley Ingram. The George B. Blake Prize. The George B. Blake Prize, awarded in recognition of extended, voluntary, and generous service to others. When I think of this young woman, I think first about her astounding capacity to share her perspective with both deep conviction and a gentle spirit. No small feat. A colleague noted that she has worked tirelessly to steer Brooks's diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in a positive direction. She has been a superb DEI prefect and is a leader destined to be moving any community she is a part of in her life towards justice. She has done that here and has managed to carry this weight while also sharing what a colleague referred to her as her infectious laugh with all of us. She is an incredible friend and community member, pushing her school to be true to its ideals. I believe we will be proud of her for the rest of her life. I'm honored to present the George B. Blake Prize to Raquel Chanel Baldeo. The Thomas Perkins Brooks Jr. Prize. The Thomas Perkins Brooks Jr. Prize is given in memory of Ensign Brooks, who was lost in the Battle of Leyte Gulf and is awarded annually by the faculty to a member of the sixth form who during their career at Brooks has met certain requirements of development, leadership, and responsibility. Believe it or not, this young man started at Brooks on the shy side. Since then, he has been as engaged a servant leader as anyone in his class. As one colleague put it, he does not seek any praise for what he does and instead just keeps doing what he thinks is right. His enthusiasm for Brooks is infectious, and he has persevered as a shining example of how to make the best of challenging circumstances with a can-do spirit. As a school prefect, I have enjoyed the chance to know him better and have come to appreciate his humility above all else. It is never about him, always about making something he is a part of better. He has become an exceptional leader and is precisely what those seeking to honor Ensign Brooks had in mind. This year's Thomas Perkins Brooks Jr. Prize goes to Jack Sullivan Breen. The Kilbourne Bowl. The Kilbourne Bowl was given by Mr. and Mrs. John W. Kilbourne for the greatest all-around improvement. When I think about this young woman's extraordinary growth and contribution to her school, I think about her indomitable spirit. While more might have been within her substantial academic reach early in her Brooks career, we always felt her presence, her crystal clear sense of what is right, and the courage in her conviction. She has grown into an excellent student. She's always been an extraordinary person. One colleague wrote, "I have learned more from her than I have from any other student I have taught or worked with in over 30 years. She excelled as a DEI prefect this year, and her passion for moving her school towards full belonging for all of its members will resonate for years to come. She is a mentor to many, a pillar of support, and someone I admire deeply. We all do. I'm honored to present the Kilbourne Bowl to Ama Bwama Apia." The Russell Prize, given by the late Richard S. Russell and awarded by the faculty for an outstanding single contribution to the life of the community. This young woman immersed herself in community life in ways that reached far and wide. Her single contribution is the sum total of many contributions that inspired peers and adults alike. She served the school as the head of Women's Incorporated. She was a dedicated student government president. Her voice was both an important and persuasive one in her capacity as a school prefect. Of her, a colleague wrote, "There are times when a personal journey, sense of self, and the ability to persevere truly inspire those around them." Her willingness to share her journey in a chapel talk earlier in the year, and subsequent commitment to normalizing conversation about mental health on our campus, were gifts that continue to give throughout the year. We have been so fortunate to have her at Brooks, and are both grateful for all she has given and better by virtue of her contributions. We could not be more proud of her. It is my privilege to present this year's Russell Prize to Shay Tracy Baker. The Headmaster Emeritus Prize, to be awarded by the faculty for any reason it considers appropriate. There is so much that I admire about this young woman. She's been the ranking scholar in her class from day one and will graduate in that familiar place. I do not know that there is any course she has not earned a first-class effort mark in. A colleague wrote of an unparalleled curiosity and level of intellectualism in the classroom, and I'm certain many of her teachers would agree with the observation. She is principled, kind, compassionate, and accessible to all. One of her teachers admired her willingness to engage in challenging conversation and her ability to respectfully disagree with classmates. She's given a great deal more to this community than she has taken from it, and as such, is a role model for any younger student aiming to understand what servant leadership looks like at its best. Yet while all of this adds up to an exceptional Brooks School career and a large void that she will leave behind, I will miss the person and presence she has been in our family's life the most. As she moves forward in her life, certain to be a force for all things good and just, I want to be sure she knows that. It is a special honor to present this year's Headmaster Emeritus Prize to Anya Harsh Sancharwala. The Dunnell Prize. The Dunnell Prize given by the faculty in honor of Jacob Dunnell and William W. Dunnell III, who jointly gave 57 years of dedicated service to their students in the school, is awarded to a sixth former who has worked without fanfare to better the school. It is the phrase, "without fanfare to better the school," that makes this the quintessential prize for this young woman. Indeed, a colleague noted, "Her selflessness represents the best of what we hope for in all of our students." As one of the finest students in her class, she impressed all who taught her. One teacher described her as having the intellectual and sophisticated punch of someone in an upper-level college course. As a school prefect, she was a doer and always stepped up to deliver in ways that enriched community life. An arts prefect, she was an extraordinary performer, amazing us on stage and screen alike. She founded the No Planet B initiative to improve sustainability and increase climate activism at Brooks, and co-led that club for the past 3 years. A 2-year co-leader of the GSA, she has been a passionate ally of our LGBTQ community. And as Chief Marketing Officer of the Investment Club, she was recently the first female student to pitch an investment proposal to the school's CFO. A colleague wrote, she puts her entire self into every endeavor she pursues. She spent the spring of her 5th form year bringing her idea of a peer advisor program to fruition, with her mission to establish a resource in which students support students by applying their personal perspectives and narratives in order to give them advice and encouragement in a confidential space. The program was launched to great acclaim this fall. Its impact will last well beyond her years here as a student. Driven, committed, passionate, talented, creative, and kind, she is unwilling to let anything she touches fail, and I am so proud of her. It is a special privilege and honor to present this year's Dunhill Prize to Elizabeth O'Neill Packard. The presence or absence of student leadership in a school year has a great deal to do with how that school year goes. While this is always true, we've never had a group of student leaders attempting to foster community and connection in the midst of a global pandemic. Somehow, this group managed to do just that over screens and through masks in ways that no one had ever imagined possible prior to March of last year. This group sought the positions they held this year in the early stages of the pandemic over screens and while away from their campus, in what was an extremely foggy and unclear notion of what this year might look and feel like a year ago at this time. All of them stepped forward determined to do their part to make the best of the circumstances we've been in. To say that they have delivered in this respect would be a woefully inadequate understatement. They have excelled in fluid and evolving health circumstances with a variety of daily schedules, on campus and on screens, in the midst of a charged and challenging national landscape, in ways that fostered community when we were physically unable to be together as a whole school, in ways that were unscripted and unplanned and had them stepping into voids we had not foreseen, in ways that inspired the school to reflect deeply, in ways that brought joy and levity to a weighty year. I think a good part of leading well is showing up and doing the work. And this meant different things in different modes from early September to this very day. It meant serving as captains of teams that didn't compete interscholastically. It meant countless hours on Zooms, supporting the admission office's outreach efforts while meeting prospective students virtually, wearing arts, athletics, and student life hats. It meant turning up for chapel and helping the school find some semblance of connection each week. It meant drawing peers to student activities with unbridled enthusiasm, impressive innovation, and a number of firsts that will not likely be lasts. And in the case of 3 young women, it meant serving as the school's DEI prefects with courage and a willingness to speak truth to their school about where we are and why we need to keep going in our effort to realize equity, inclusion, and full belonging on our campus. We were blessed all year long with student leaders who stayed engaged, went the extra mile, and cleared all the obstacles COVID-19 put in the way. I enjoyed the privilege of meeting with 11 of these student leaders every week in their capacity as school prefects. We met via Zoom on laptops and phones, from our cars, in the chapel, on the porch of our campus home, in our living room more recently, and probably in other ways that I'm forgetting. Where we mattered a great deal less than the fact that we met. that we gathered and simply caught up about the school through a year with undulations, twists, and turns that seem intent on staying with us right to the end. In his chapel talk less than 2 weeks ago, one of these impressive young people, Jack Frimmett, seemed to be making light of my tendency to refer to the class of 2021 and our student body in general in what I will call glowing terms. If he was suggesting that I have a bit of a habit of being somewhat hyperbolic when speaking about our students, as I think he was, I suppose I am guilty as charged. But I take none of it back. Certainly not this year. And when I think about the collective contribution this group of 11 school prefects shared with their school, I do think it was extraordinary and marvelous and magnificent and spectacular and awe-inspiring, otherworldly, godlike, and certain to echo in eternity. Seriously, however, I am just grateful to have spent time each week with this group, to have learned from them, thought with them, and found so much reason to keep at it this year every time we met. In ways that have certainly been true here, all 11 of them are on their way to making communities they are a part of better places. This will be true throughout their lives. Of that, I am sure. With thanks to all in the class of 2021 who contributed to the success of this school year by leading in ways defined and undefined, I ask that all of you join me in thanking this year's school prefects as I call their names and invite them to the stage. They are Eileen Arias, Shay Tracy Baker, Jack Sullivan Breen, Sydney Grace Correa, Emma Rose Fleischman, Jack William Frimmett, Jake Duncan McKinnon, Elizabeth O'Neill Packard, Anya Harsh Sancharawala, Tyler Alexander Whitney Sidney, and this year's senior prefect, Omolade Feishayo Mabude. As we continue to emerge from this pandemic's grip over the coming months, we are hopeful that the 2021-2022 school year will allow for a full return to interacting with one another without any of the restrictions that have burdened us this year. That is an unbelievably exciting prospect, and the simple joy of removing masks when outdoors over these past couple of weeks underlines how each step in the direction of uninhibited interaction with one another will feel like a gift. It will also be true that we will begin the 2021-2022 school year with only the 4-year members of the class of 2022 having experienced a whole school year without COVID-19 getting in the way. And that will have been 3 years ago. When speaking with prospective students and families through the admission cycle, I emphasized what I believe about the coming year, that we are poised to run out of this pandemic in the direction of being fully together in ways that we will appreciate more than ever before, that there has never been a better time to come to Brooks. In this respect, there is so much promise and possibility ahead. Perhaps never before have we had as much of a blank slate to work with when thinking about the kind of year we want to have together. Yet there is also an unnerving element to the range of possibilities in front of us. And I think this will be a good part of the challenge that leaders in the class of 2022 will face when we get underway in early September. What do we keep from this pandemic-restricted year we are wrapping up over this next week? What do we immediately return to when the all-clear comes and restrictions are fully behind us? What kind of school improvement blend will this experience we have had together yield? The answers to these questions are overflowing with potential. This rising sixth form will hold a lot of the cards in shaping the way we pour ourselves into community and get to know one another in ways that we were not able to this year. From my seat, this must be a primary goal, to know and understand one another well, out of the silos and isolation and masks that have had us saying hello in ways that have just not been the same. I've never been more eager to pursue and feel community and connection on our campus because I have missed it so much. To work with all in this class of 2022 and the many leadership roles they will hold with this goal in mind is an exciting prospect. I know they are up to the task. The school prefects are among the many who will play a part in making the 2021-2022 school year go well. I'm looking forward to the time I will have to think and learn with all of them over the course of the year, and I'd like to announce who they will be and invite them to join us on stage when I call their names. They are Lucy Adams, Christian Behar, Hongru Chen, Amy Del Cid, Luc Desmaisons, Christian Duran, Malachi Carberry Johns, Eleanor Olame Cariza, Laura Smith, and next year's two senior prefects, Saisha Prabhakar and Naomi Louise Wilson. This brings the lawn ceremony to a close, but don't go anywhere yet. From here, I ask that all of us on campus make our way directly to the chapel for our boo-hoo service, beginning as soon as we get there. All students should make their way into the chapel with masks on. for a series of farewell songs and traditions before allowing the class of 2021 to process out of the chapel behind a bagpiper who will lead the way. Well, this part of the afternoon will not be live streamed. We will have a professional photographer capturing the event and making those photographs available to all who are interested. Once the class of 2021 has lined the chapel walk or some other location we determine if we decide it's raining too much, with their masks on, the faculty, followed by the third form, fourth form, and then the fifth form, all with masks on, will process through the line to say what are often long and emotional goodbyes to this year's soon-to-be graduates. Once the fifth form is through the line, the class of 2021 will make its way through the line with farewells for one another. And again, we will take plenty of pictures. This brings the live stream to a close. Many thanks to those of you who have joined us from home. For the rest of us, let's head to the chapel. Okay. So